What is
We're
going
here.
on, you guys?
I'm feeling the Navidad spirit. How about everybody else?
I feel pretty good, dude. How you doing, Blue? How we
I
doing?
have a I have a little Krampus on my back. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, a little Krampus.
It's
Right
a
out of
little
the gate with a little joke.
Do
I
you have a
appreciate that.
Krampus knocked in your back? Knocked
yeah,
in your back here? Yeah.
Oh, look
Well,
at you.
yeah.
Well, good
for
thing you're
anyone
a
that's
healer. You
joining
might be
us,
able to help us with that. All right. Well,
this is our good friend, Blu Tempest.
yeah.
She's here to share a little bit about falconry, about her mystical readings. She's a master of several different types of divination, and
Oh,
soon to be one of the best wildlife biologists that we have in this wonderful country we live in. So welcome. Thank you. Great to see you, always. Last time I
thank
saw
you.
you, you had a kind of a throwdown on Netflix, and we saw uh, Nick Cave, not Nick Cave, Nick Cage in
Nicholas
Long
Cage.
Beach.
Very different people when
Yeah,
you know add a different letter in there.
but they were
Yeah.
both scary at the same time. This
Indeed.
was
Yeah.
a
I've seen both of
yeah.
them in New Orleans, and they pretty much were doing the same thing. So that's fine.
There it is. Yeah, right.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They
I
used to
do.
come. Dude,
I've seen both too.
when Nick Cage came into Reverend Zombies with Lisa Marie Presley,
Mhm.
they were wasted out of their minds, and we had to actually kick them out. Like we were like, I don't know, we loved you as Elvis in that movie and everything, but you got to go, bro. Like it's too much. So yeah,
hmm
Yeah,
I've
indeed,
heard the
he liked
story.
to
yeah,
he liked to greet young women and everyone with a lot of fervor. Yes. So
yeah. Well,
yeah, yeah.
he's a strange one. He's a
Love
strange
the
one, and so
corner.
are you. I love the oh snap, and I love the little buddies behind you. Can you explain just a little bit for our
Oh,
viewers what's
well, my
going on
Aunt
with you, sir?
Birdie. May
Yeah,
the angels rest with her. She's a
indeed.
wonderful lady, and these were her and her sisters. Some
Wow.
friends that she donated to our family to join us. They're animated. They do some dance moves, but they did. It's more like a little bit of a Tai Chi sort of
Yeah, sure.
vibe.
It's
Yeah,
moving
yeah.
the water gently.
It's a gentle water move, and it's
Right.
a
It
bringing
is.
it back in. The candles are a benediction to light our way through the dark time of the year.
Yes.
And speaking of dark times, you're still at Marie Laveau's, but all three of us were there together at one
Yes.
point, and we got to see each
hmm
other at least 3 or 4 times a week. So that was really a wonderful time. And so it is wonderful to see you, Blue Tempest, and be here on the podcast.
Okay. All right.
Like last time I saw you, we had just lost a member of our Marie Laveau's family,
Yeah.
Ruby. So we don't want to bring that up, but you were kind of getting over that. How are we doing right now with that?
Oh man, if I think about her, I cry. But like
Oh, okay, okay.
it's
Yeah.
a thing. I was hoping we wouldn't
Can we
talk about
say
her, but
she really
yeah.
added a lot to all of our lives, and Ruby the squirrel was an amazing gift to everyone. And so maybe let's bounce into some of your philanthropy with wildlife rescue, and maybe talk a little bit about that. There been anything happening recently with you as far as saving animals, injured animals, or in the area? Is there anything happening as far as rescue or animals in need?
So I've been a wildlife rehab rescuer since 2016.
Hmm.
But I've also started going back to school. So in the past couple of years since I've been in school, my wildlife rehabbing has slowed down quite a bit. But I did have a pretty cool summer. I spent a lot of time with my friend who rescues raptors. So I
Uh-huh.
did get to help out with a few rescues of some hawks and some owls over the summer. And most of them were able to be released. A few of them were not, unfortunately. Their injuries were too bad. But I did get a little bit of hands-on experience over the summer with some birds of prey. But I started out with squirrels, and Ruby was my first, and I kept her. She ended up not getting released, and I kept her for 10 years. So I would
Yeah.
not recommend that, considering you need special permits to keep them. But I was able to find a way to keep her. But she was my inspiration to getting into wildlife rehabbing. So I've rescued dozens, if not hundreds, of squirrels since rescuing that squirrel. So I feel like I gave back to Mother Nature a little bit
That's great.
And think about all the
over the
people that
years.
came into Reverend Zombies and met Ruby through.
I
store.
know
Yeah,
it's not every day you walk into a voodoo shop for one, and secondly, the girl behind the counter has a squirrel. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't
Welcome
happen
to
all that
Marie
often.
Laveau's, everybody. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Just,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what are
I
you gonna
feel
do?
like
Step on up.
Yeah.
in that moment, it was like I have arrived. Like I had been working there for a couple years already, but I really felt like I finally hit that
Yeah.
note that
If you
makes
have
Hey,
people
some
you can
sort of
super
bring a
wild
unique.
squirrel
animal
in
on your
here now.
shoulder,
So yeah, you're good.
yeah,
It's
you're an
cool.
And the
official pirate at that point. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely
I
you've
have
arrived.
video. I have videos of her like on the counter at Reverend Zombies, and like people not even noticing her because of the way the shop is designed. They'd
Indeed.
walk in and they're so distracted by everything that they didn't even see a freaking squirrel on the front counter.
Well,
Like
As
there's
I'm
so much
telling you,
stuff in
hilarious.
there, though. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things in there,
it's
and it
true.
all blends into something. Like, no one knows what they're looking at in there anyway. So, a live squirrel is just something out the corner. They don't know what's happening in there. You know? Yeah, that's
Nope.
great, though. I remember,
It
dude. I
melted
remember
my
when we.
niece's heart to
Yeah,
see you bottle feed Ruby on a video I showed her about an hour
yeah.
ago. It just, she was like a squirrel, and
Oh,
I'm like, look at this video, and she just, it melted her heart, seriously. So shout out to my niece Sophia, and shout out to the store, because rando
Indeed.
objects, I just can't really relate to having rando objects around all the time, but it is a great place to be for sure, as you would know for sure.
Well, yeah, I
oh, I
just
miss
left
that.
there about 40 minutes ago. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
right.
I know.
another
I
another
miss it.
Sunday shift. Yeah, Marie
Oh, you
Laveau's
miss it? I
another
love,
I
yeah,
lighting of
do.
look, but
yeah.
we
We
lit the
both do.
candle today. We did a lot of saging.
Hmm.
We have candles for Marie Laveau now, like literally
Oh,
with her face on it and the Veve
oh,
that I drew on the back of
oh,
it, by the
oh,
way,
and you
which
drew
is
the
pretty
Veve. Nice.
awesome.
Okay.
That's
I,
awesome.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
when you doodle something over time in a store like that, and
Uh-huh.
then you want to make a funny T-shirt out of it, and then it ends up being the symbol on all of her saint iconography going all around the world. That's a weird thing to have happen. But that's what happened.
That's a
That's
doorway that just opened, is what happened.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm really happy for that. But Jackie, you should see the candles. We have a white one and a pink one for Marie now, and it's like we make them, so it's really cool.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alex has told me about it, and
Yeah.
it's super cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to
Indeed.
get one.
Yeah. We worked
Well,
there for a long time together. I fully enjoyed all of our Sunday shifts and
Oh my
the
God.
just
Ooh, we would
you
raise
know
them spirits, man. Oh
dude,
my
look,
God.
I'll tell you, remember the time when we drew everything on the floor for Dambala and you had the sage on and you were going like a snake, the symbols all over the floor and you were swirling all around like I mean, we people would come in there
Woo!
and be like, what is happening in this place right now? Like, who are these people? And we're like, we're just getting it on, dude. If you guys can watch or whatever, but we can't even ring you up right now because we're busy.
Well,
hang in there
honestly,
and
we
wait.
were just like vessels. Like
Yeah.
I, I have a very hazy memories of those days because I know that I was just like partially being ridden the whole day, like with
Yeah.
spirits just like telling me what to do, and I'm like, okay, like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Were,
we
It
were
had
you
moves
we had
through
some
you.
chanting to
cool shit.
Yeah.
Damballa during that whole time?
We had some cool stuff. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Would you say, Darren?
Were you chanting Damballa through that whole experience,
I don't
or?
Oh,
remember.
yeah, we did. Well, because we also remember we had the Dambala altar in the back that Oren built.
Of course I do.
So we were doing stuff with that. And as it went on, we were because I did a thing right in front of the Haitian altar
Hmm.
because that's where he built it. So I would do a little thing in front of there, and then Jackie was like, "All right, here we are," and then we got the eggshell powder, and we're running around and blessing
Just
everything with eggshell powder
fucking
and drawing shit. I mean, that's just it was a
He
good
loves the
time.
eggshells for sure.
I haven't had a
those are
Sunday
the
like that in
best.
a minute, so I
Oh
miss
It
you
is
over
man,
funny
there too.
because I
does that
would take
mean
ashes from the altar and just kind of shake them out, and people walking by, and I would say
Yeah.
Damballa as they were walking by, and they were
I
just
remember
like,
this.
"You remember me doing?"
Yes, of course.
They
Yes,
had
I
no
remember.
idea what it meant or what was
Harassing the
going on.
customers with some random spiritual talk, like you just fuck with people, like
Oh yeah. Look, I mean, it's a place for great communion and a place for great comedy at the same time. So
100%. The
yeah,
spirits
it's a
like some
fun place.
humor. They
Well,
Indeed,
love
yes.
some
Darren's
humor.
in there.
in our defense, we are there 24/7, 7 days a week. So everyone else is on a trip and a journey to visit, and we live
Right.
in the amusement park, so
Right. Right.
it is needed to have some amusement in the amusement park.
Yeah.
You know,
When you get
it's
crazy,
Oh
you
my
know,
God, yeah.
when we
yeah.
got crazy in there, it was because we were doing something that like we really wanted to do as artists and spiritualists. And I think other people were like, hey, that's cool. I mean, what are they looking for? Why would they come to New Orleans if it wasn't to see people actually doing this stuff? So I always
Hmm.
felt proud to be doing that. I still do. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Out
sure.
the
And
front of
I
that
mean,
altar today, you know, doing the whole thing. So yeah.
yeah,
and the
I think
great
the
serpent of
humor,
wisdom and rebirth is a person to chant about in that
Indeed.
space. I would
Indeed.
say, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think for me the moments that we had, you know, doing that is it's kind of the same thing when you're communing with the spirits, you're communing with nature. And I know that you do readings and I know that you work with animals. And I know that like even the way that you practice magic is so very earth plane based, animal based, and the spirits, but like things represent to you on a very like animal level, on a very
they
nature
do.
based level, because you're like a little fairy out there in the forest and just trying to, you know, commune with everything. So I have a question because I don't know much about this. What type of readings do you actually do now? Because I would love to know.
Okay, so I've always done tarot, since
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
a
for sure.
kid. My
Mhm.
mother was a reader, so she taught me at a young age. Like I was actually playing with them, like games with them before I knew what they actually were for or meant for.
Sure.
But so readings, tarot, and I've recently gotten into astrology in the last few years. I'd
Oh,
say
okay.
astrology is still, I would say I'm pretty, I'm not advanced, but I can definitely look at someone's birth chart and just like go ham on it for an hour.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like easy. I could
That's
just
cool.
dive into
Yeah.
that thing.
Without
So
an
I'll
ephemeris,
do,
just like here we are. Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool.
exactly. I
Of
could
course.
just jump into
so
that
I
shit
can
and be like,
pass you over
you
some
know,
clients. I have another friend, John Morani. Shout out to John Morani, who's fantastic. But if I do have some astrology clients, I could share with you. Then
absolutely.
that would be
Yeah.
good.
Let's
We
What
could
get
deck
Blu
do,
did your
Tempest
mom
on it.
use?
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you don't mind me asking. Did your mom use like a what kind of tarot deck did she use?
Rider Waite. That's what I
Really?
use
Okay.
now.
Ah,
Yep.
Okay.
old
Yep.
school
Okay.
is
Rider
old
Waite.
school,
Gold
man. Yeah.
school.
If it
I
ain't
used
broke, don't
to,
fix it. That one.
If it
Yeah.
I
ain't broke,
remember,
if it ain't broke.
Yeah.
yeah, I remember as a teenager, I was like, Mom, aren't you tired of these old cards? And she's like, Hell no.
Yeah.
And nowadays, like, oh man, that's what I use now. I got all these fancy decks and stuff, but really the Rider Waite is what I
That's what
love. And
resonates. Yeah.
I feel like, she's passed on, so I feel like her
Yeah.
spirit is in this deck
Working
too.
through
So
the
I'm like,
cards. That's
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, she
Mhm.
definitely. I have one, the Pamela Coleman Smith commemorative deck that I love. It's got
Oh, of
like the
course. Yeah.
that light
Mhm.
blue, backing,
I've
and
seen
it's
it.
just nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you
the
know
one I
what's
use.
cool about that is that they finally like gave her the props that she deserved for drawing the deck and actually being a prominent Golden Dawn member, because they never even said, like, no one said right away and then drawn by, like, it wasn't a big deal. But the commemorative deck, I actually was like, yeah, I'm so glad they made
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
I
I love
actually
that.
have the box. I have the box if you want me to show the camera. But
Yeah,
I would
go
love
ahead.
that. Yeah.
it's a beautiful
Yeah, it's
box.
like a
Hold on.
dark green box, and it's got the pictures of it on the front, and you open it up,
Yeah.
and it's got like a thing with her picture on it. Yeah, there it is.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
yeah,
gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah.
I
yeah. It's
bought
cool.
this at Marie Laveau's also.
Yeah.
So yeah. I
Marvelous.
Yes,
bought
indeed.
this when I was working there. But yeah, when you
Mhm.
open it up, there's, it comes with two books.
Yeah,
Um, the books are in my bookshelf right now, but it also comes with, at least this one did. Sorry.
it's
Wow,
got the
this is
picture.
just,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it came with like artwork
Beautiful. Oh
by
yeah. No,
her.
that's
Yeah,
see
I mean,
that's
she's
gorgeous. It's
these are
gorgeous.
more pieces by her.
Yeah.
that's dope.
So I have left them in the box because they're so special to me, and
Indeed.
I need to put them all. I mean, look at that. I get like a
Mhm.
Yeah,
postcard
cool.
of the Empress. Yeah. Anyway,
Have you
Indeed.
ever
so
noticed that people when they use the playing cards instead of
I
like
have
tarot
used
cards?
those. I have
But it's
used
usually
those.
because a parent or a relative had taught them to use it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were much more prominent because tarot cards weren't as widely available. That's what the older readers, when I first started
Hmm.
at Marie's, would tell me. They say, I play with playing cards because nobody had tarot when I was growing up, so we all learned on the playing cards and we wrote the meanings on them so we would understand what. I actually saw one from Miss Irene. She had the deck that she learned from and she showed me where each card had the meaning written in ink on it.
Oh
You know
my
what I mean?
God.
Oh, and that
Miss
card was
Miss
Irene.
Irene.
yeah,
Miss
I know.
Irene.
I
Those
miss
cards, yo, those
her.
cards were
I'd
like,
say Miss
those cards were like
Irene, man.
literally like
Miss
80 years old.
Irene.
I know.
We cannot talk about Marie Laveau and not talk about Miss Irene.
Yeah,
Like,
worked with
oh,
our
that
ones.
woman. Oh, I
So
miss
you can
her.
answer this question, Firewalker. When did
Yeah,
she officially stop? Like 84 or something when she decided to retire?
yeah. I mean, she
Older.
went back to
84.
Florida probably like in the late teens.
Uh,
You know, I mean, yeah, she was definitely in her 80s. And one of the funny things is that when someone would come up to there and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't," I'd be like, "We have a great tarot card reader, Miss Irene. She's been here for 47,000 years. You know what I mean? She's ready to go. You know." And they'd be
right.
like, "Oh no, I don't want to know." And she'd come out of there, out of the little beads, and she'd say, "Forewarned is forearmed." And then she dip back behind the beads. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? That little
Just
Q-tip
ominous
head
as
of
hell,
hers.
right? Yeah.
She
Just
was so cute. People would be
Uh,
like, "Oh my God, I could never. I could never." And then she
yeah,
comes up behind them and she's this sweet
yeah,
little old lady
right.
dressed like amazingly
I
dressed,
know. Yeah,
impeccable
yeah.
lipstick, everything. It might
impeccably,
be
Gorgeous.
a
impeccably,
little
right?
bit on her
Oh,
teeth sometimes, but that was okay.
hey,
Like we love
she
Miss
was like
Irene.
80, but yeah, she was still a playerlistic lady, man. She was the best.
But
Yeah,
she'd come up and she'd touch their arm and they'd look at her and she'd be like, I'm that spooky old lady in the back. Like, and
yeah,
she just say it so sweetly. And she'd
yeah,
be like, that's me. And it's real, dear. It's absolutely real. And she's like,
yeah,
when you're ready.
yeah.
Or
And
like
then
stuff
five
like
minutes
that.
later,
And
they're
like,
ringing it up.
they're
Yeah,
signing up. Yeah, five
yeah,
minutes said that's the reader. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
that was her. They're like, oh my
yeah,
God. Like, I
yeah,
have to, because she touched me. She spoke to me. Like, she
yeah.
floated out into the room and talked to us and floated back. Like, she was just so special. I just love
You
the
Well,
know,
way
as
one
she
of
wild
handled
as
like
you.
people.
I think one of the worst readers that I
Mhm.
ever met there was this dude named Darren Bucare. I mean,
Oh
that
my
guy.
God.
See, that's because when you walked in, and because we knew you did Ayurvedic palmistry,
Yeah.
that was like so cool because like nobody knew what that was, and you were like the new like hot dude. Like you're like I do this and I do that, and I could do a past life reading, and I could talk about your
I
mama
don't.
and
I don't
whatever.
come off like that at all anymore. So I'm
No,
like,
no, not at all, not at all. No, if you could put a stupid sweater on a ham, it would be right there. Look at that! Oh snap! I love that. I love that. That's good stuff.
it's an
Anyway, okay,
homage
so
to
let's.
Thanos, but
Oh
as a
Right.
snap.
gingerbread man. But as a
Of
gingerbread
Oh
course.
man.
my
Oh snap!
God.
It's
So
Thanos.
if he
Right.
snapped his fingers.
Right.
But I have to say, like one thing about Miss Irene, her hair, she would do her hair impeccably. So it would
Oh my
just be out
God.
there. So it
Yeah.
was almost like a replacement for Marie Laveau's headdress. Because it was
Indeed.
just a whole lot of hair,
Oh
and you
yeah.
were like, you gotta listen to this lady, right? Like
No,
she's
that
gotta
She's
know
got
beehive.
something.
the,
She meant business. You know what I used to
She
call
meant
her?
business, man. Real
No, but
talk.
listen. When
yeah.
people were wondering if she's gonna show up because I'd already booked her, so
Yeah.
she's coming around because she only lived like a block and a half away. I said we have to look for the Q-tip because the
Right. The
Q-tip
big
was the top
white,
of her big
just
white hair.
right. That's it.
It
You
would
can
be
see
she'd
it.
walk so slow she looked like a floating Q-tip. So I'd be
You
like, you
can.
got to look out for the Q-tip. If you see it, let me know, and we know she's coming.
She
Oh
she
my
would be
goodness.
working at night, and I'd be working during the day, and I'd be looking down the street, and I'd just look because it ain't
Yeah,
moving quick. She ain't
yeah,
coming quick. It's
she,
coming though.
yeah.
You can see it
She'll
coming.
get
Oh my
there.
God.
Hello,
I love
dear.
her.
Tell me your name.
Hello,
Yeah.
dear. Yes. Hello,
Hello,
dear.
dear. Yeah, it was
Hello,
the best.
dear.
I
And
All
had
right,
worked
she'd
there
so
always tip us.
for
She
about
always tipped
13
us really
years,
well.
oh,
and
I
she was
lived
still
off of her
figuring out
tips
who I
back when I
was
first worked
again and
there.
again. Like, well, who are you again? I'm like,
Yeah,
dude,
I'm
you
Darren
know,
Bucare. Who are you, dear? Oh,
yeah,
you read those
yeah,
tarot cards. You read palms. That's nice. Yeah.
yeah.
She didn't play. She was from Philly though.
That's
She
nice.
didn't play. Anyway, all right. So
She
you
did
do
not play.
readings. You do readings in public. You do your thing.
Hmm.
And but you also
Do,
do other.
mhm,
What other modalities are you working with besides tarot?
Okay, so I do, I'm a licensed massage therapist by trade.
mhm.
So I also do Reiki. And I have an interesting story about Reiki and how I got into that.
Well, please.
Because
Please,
I
please tell
started
me.
out, I met Ruby, raised her, started rehabbing a few years later.
Right.
And when I moved to South Carolina, I started
Right.
rehabbing full time. And I was a volunteer, so I wasn't getting paid for it. So it was just like really, I was learning as much as I could with the time that I
Right.
had. And I was coming across a lot of, moments where I wish I could just do just a little bit more for these animals. And my sister happens to be a Reiki master and an acupuncturist. So
Right.
I asked her if Reiki would help animals, and she said absolutely.
Right.
So I got attuned and I did the whole thing. And then within a few months, I had to do level 2 because that now I wanted to work on people. Like the first
Right.
few months, I only worked on animals. I worked on myself and I worked on animals. And then that's level 1 is working on yourself, but level 2 is working on people. And
Right.
because I was getting such a, I don't know, I really felt like it helped. I feel like the animals were just like so receptive and they'd feel it right away. And I could just channel and just help them ease their pain, ease their stress, and ease like the ones that were passing and I couldn't do
Right.
anything for them. It just,
Right.
yeah, I really felt like it worked. And so I was in love with it. I was like, Erin, my sister, I was like, Erin, I got to do level 2. And she's like, well, that means you got to work on people now. And I'm like, well, whatever, sure, fine, because I cared more about animals. So I did
Yeah, I
level
know you
two
do. I
and
know.
We
Yeah.
know that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we get
We're
it.
I
Yeah.
aware.
we put
We love you.
together that.
Yeah.
You like
Yeah.
Sorry.
us, so that's good. We're in. We're in. So we
Yeah,
I'm
know.
no, I feel you. I like my cats more than I like most people, so that's good.
I'm Captain Obvious sometimes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
But
that's good. Right
so
on, man.
I did level 2, and within a few months, I was signing up for massage therapy. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to work on
You're
people now.
right down the rabbit hole. Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
right on in, and that just sort of married the whole idea of staying in school after I got my certificate in training to
Mm-hmm.
just work more with animals. And so I felt like I should stay in school to get a wildlife biology degree, so I
Right.
can help with like managing ecosystems and things like that. So I could have just like a deeper understanding of school. Oh, sorry,
That's
of biology. So I
yeah,
need to
yeah.
go to
No, of course.
school. So it all kind of like weaves into itself. It started with the
Yeah.
squirrel, then wildlife rehabbing, then Reiki. Okay, now I'm working on people, and now I'm doing readings again. And it's like
Well,
I guess I'm just supposed to help
you open the
everybody.
channels, up with a variety of methodologies. Like it doesn't really always matter. Like that's kind of how we talk about things on the show. It's like, how did you go through something, or what did you learn, and then what did it open up, and how did it change your life? And it's like once you start, just moving with that energy, you don't know what you're going to do with it, but then the things are asking you, will you help me with it? Once that universe knows that you can help, it sends you the way to help, and you don't even know what it is all
Wild.
the time,
And what's
so
significant is the menagerie of the myriad of different, like, interesting folk that I know that are magical, divination experts, readers, sorcerers, what have you. You're the first person that I'm really, and you're a good friend of mine, and I love that, to talk about animal Reiki. The words
yeah.
animal and Reiki got like the
Right.
synergy of that. So
Yeah.
if anyone, and please follow up with her in the notes for the show, if
Yeah.
you have an
Absolutely.
animal now, when you send out the healing waves of energy, is it just to knit the cells back together, or what are we? How
You
does
know,
that?
it's interesting because I started out
Mhm.
doing Reiki on myself and
Right.
Mhm.
animals, and
Right.
then I graduated to people.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Yeah.
like, people usually start out working on people and
Sure.
then just think, oh, animals. Whereas I started the
Right.
other way.
Sure.
I
Uh,
have found that animals are way more receptive to the energy, and they
yeah.
just link in with, like a millisecond. Even before you send it out, they're already linking to
Right.
it.
Right.
They're just
Right.
boom, they're in it.
Well,
So
I
when
mean,
I
for example, just to interject, when you have a cat and you don't feel right, they go lay on you, right? So
hmm
already, you know what I mean? Like when I haven't been doing good or like whatever, like I know that my cat will come lay with me. They've totally and completely like made me feel better very quickly, but they know when to do it. So it's like they're already tuned into that. So that's what they normally
hmm
do. But then when they need it, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna help me now? Holy crap!
Yeah,
Most of you guys don't do that. Please, let's go." Yeah,
So
I get
is
that.
it
That's
fair to
great.
say we're three
so
people that know
true.
cats pretty well? Is that fair to say?
I
love
know
cats.
cats pretty well
Okay,
too.
right.
Yeah, I think cats are Reiki masters. Like they
That's what
really
I'm
are.
trying to
Do
say is
cat
that I feel
purrs
like my
heal?
cats have been that way for me. So I mean, it's totally cool. Yeah.
Do cat purrs heal though? Because I've heard that.
Yes.
Yes,
The
Is that a
yes.
vibrations of
consensus
cats'
of this
purrs.
podcast today? Yes.
No, no. Scientifically been. I can talk. Scientifically been proven that cats' purrs vibrate at levels that are on a healing frequency. The drone of bees actually creates hexagonal symmetry, golden flower, sacred geometry stuff just from the thing itself, just from the sound. Come on,
Okay.
dude. We're just getting into what we can do, and we already knew this stuff. We try to
No,
pass
I
it
know.
down, and they try to take advantage,
I
and then
wanted
here
to
we are.
join hands and say, are we all on the same page with the cat purrs? Because
Yes,
that to me is a no brainer for sure. So I wanted to
Yeah,
definitely
I love cats.
get into that.
absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah.
you
And for the
started doing
audience as well, because
right.
there is a lot of debate about it, and I'm here to say that it's. If I have Kurt Russell right here, dude, that's a wrap, dude. Seriously, like I'm just like chilling.
Dude,
I
if
need
they
it.
use animals, they use animals as support animals, as
Hmm.
empathic creatures to help you for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they don't have a bunch of craziness in their head. You know what I mean? That blocks them from the
Hmm.
flow, right? So when they are
Hmm.
needed to give you that flow, they're already in that pocket. They're already frequency aligned, man. You know, if you really
Yeah.
tune into animals, they're like,
Can I share a quick story with you guys? Last night I had to
yeah,
talk to Snowflake, who's a husky, and Russo, who's the new dog. And
Hmm.
Snowflake
Russo,
is not Russo is they look a lot alike, but Russo's smaller than and Snowflake is a big. So I had to say, Snowflake, you got to Snowy, right? Because we chill, and I'm like, Snow, you got to be nice to Russo, like you got to, and like I had to, they're supposed to be set, they can't be alone with each other in the room and not separated. And
right?
I think I made some headway so they could chill in the room. They were fine together in the room
That's
without
cool.
attacking or anything. So you got to talk to your animals. You know, I think it's try. You know, give it a shot. Can't hurt,
Well,
right?
uh, Jackie, of course, your early shamanic experiences were also with animals and spirit animals. I know that because I know you, but could you tell us a little bit
Could
about
you share
how
about that?
that
Yeah.
happened? Because I think that's kind of like
Right.
we want to hear that story because that shows somebody else like, oh, I'm not crazy. You know, I mean, because we know
Okay.
we are, but like, you know, there's
Well,
somebody else, right? But if somebody
yeah.
can say like, okay, there's somebody else that's seen that, you know. So I mean, you know, let us know
Well,
some.
I'm curious what
Ooh.
what totem animal we're talking about because that.
I mean, I guess I could tell the story of Ruby. I mean, that was
Yeah.
probably the most impactful
Hmm.
moment of my life,
Yeah.
Right,
because
Please.
she
Yeah.
changed the course of everything.
right.
So, I mean, I had a friend visiting from out of town. Shout out to Tanya. What's up, girl?
Tanya.
So she, what's up, Tanya? She's amazing. She's a seamstress out of Chicago.
Hmm.
She's cool.
Dope.
Anyway, so she came to visit me in New Orleans, and of course, I took her to Jean Lafitte's National Park. You know, I
Right,
think it's in
right.
Marrero. So it's a
Yeah,
swamp. So it's
yeah.
like if no one's ever been there, it's a big swamp, and they have the
Hmm.
boardwalks, and you know, it's really cool. You just walk down the boardwalk paths, and it's
Yeah,
really fun.
indeed.
You see a lot of different things, and that day we went was like wildlife was just going crazy that day. It was like
Right,
after a
right.
cold front and warm front moved in, and
Hmm.
all these animals were just going nuts. We saw alligators, we saw nutria that day, we saw
Oh
owls.
boy,
Yeah,
nutria. Yeah.
Owls were squawking at each other in the middle of the
yeah.
daytime. It was
Hmm.
That's cool.
insane. Yeah, it was cool. It was wild. And about an hour into our little hike, we came across a little squirrel. Like
Right,
she came up, my friend noticed her first, Tanya. She was
right,
like, "Oh my God, there's a squirrel." And I'm like,
right,
"Oh, a squirrel." So we're watching it, and it just came straight up to us and jumped up onto the boardwalk from the ground and walked up to me. And I have pictures of it. And I mean, I didn't know what to do. At first, I was stunned, alarmed that this little
Hmm.
right,
squirrel like walked straight up to me. And then
right,
next thing I know, I'm like, well, she's by my shoe. She like jumped on
Hmm.
my shoe, and I was like, what
right.
the hell? So I picked her up and I held her in my hand. We gave her some trail mix. She ate that, and then I guess we were friends after that because then
Right.
she crawled up my arm, sat on my shoulder,
That's you though,
and
Jackie. But go ahead. That's just you though, bro. I'm sorry. That's
She's
just
out
you.
there
Like that's not some normal stuff
like
to happen.
Aurora from
Go ahead.
Sleeping Beauty, just like
Right, yeah,
Like
yeah.
just
That always happens. Like every couple of days, someone gets a
sure.
squirrel on their shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
I
so they
mean,
went on your shoulder. Yeah.
so she's on my shoulder, and I mean, we had been standing there for quite a few minutes, and so my friend was like, "Well, what do we do?" And I'm like, "I guess we just start walking."
Right.
So I start walking, and I figured the little thing will just run off of me and go home and whatever. But she decided to crawl into my backpack and make a space for herself and went to sleep in there.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
just,
man. That's
and
so
I mean,
crazy.
we have
That's so
pictures
crazy.
of her like crawling into the backpack because I was like, what is she doing? What does she do? Because any movement she made, I was like, what is it doing? What's it doing? It's
Right.
like, oh my God,
Yeah.
there's a squirrel on me. I'm like, what's it doing? What's
Yeah.
it doing? And my friend's like, oh, she's just checking out your backpack. And I'm like, okay, I'll
Right.
keep walking, keep walking. And then she's like,
Okay.
now she's in your backpack. And she
Right.
saw her little
Right.
tail like, whoop, like go inside of
Right.
it.
That is just like yeah, you just see the little tail sticking out. Like the squirrel's in your backpack, by the way. Like, yeah. Oh
I'm
man.
like, wait, what? So then I
Yeah.
stop and I open it
Yeah.
up, and there she is, and we take a picture of her like in there, and there's this little inner pocket that had like a lipstick and like a cigarette box. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, thankfully. But anyway,
Right.
she just like moved that out. She just took it out and just made a little spot for herself and literally went to sleep, dude.
Oh my
And I
god.
was like,
Right. So
I
that's like a spirit
Right,
animal, like just
right,
saying
right,
hello.
right.
Like that's a spirit animal, just like, listen, I don't know if you know that this happens, but I'm gonna crawl in your backpack because I'm supposed to be hanging out with you. Right.
So I hear
I
about this,
know.
and I go to
Yeah.
Jackie's house, and I'm like, so you really adopted a squirrel? And she opened the
Yeah.
cage, and Ruby was like, hello, and like, whoop.
We all
I'm
heard
like,
about it, by the way. We all heard, like, hey, did you guys hear it?
yeah,
Jackie has a squirrel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're like, dude, Jackie has a squirrel. You know what I mean? Like,
and
it
we were
was
like, of
funny.
course she
Yeah.
has a squirrel.
But we were
Of
People were
course,
surprised.
like,
We're
of
like,
course.
she has a squirrel. Okay.
right,
That's
They're
right.
like, oh yeah, what else? Like,
right. Yeah. Of course she does. But then you
Mhm.
brought it into the store, and I'm like, now we have like a mascot over here. You know?
I know. I was
Yeah.
okay. I was like all nervous about it, and I was like
Right.
called Bonnie up, and I think I
Yeah.
sent her a picture. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I have to feed this thing every couple of hours. Like,
Right.
can I bring her into the store with me? And Bonnie
Right.
was like, oh my God, yes, please.
Right. Because Bonnie was
So I
dope.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Shout
I
out
was
to
like, are
Find
Bonnie.
you
a job
sure?
that'll
And
let
she's
you
like,
bring a squirrel in.
absolutely, bring it
Find a
Yeah.
in,
job.
bring it
Yeah.
in. And so I actually had I had a cab driver too that would bring me so that I didn't have to carry her little thing on the bus. I had a
Yeah.
cab
Yeah.
driver that would come and give me rides off the books because he thought it was so cool that I was
Right.
bringing a
Yeah.
squirrel into a
That's
booby
great.
shop.
Yeah. Superstar squirrel lady. Yeah. That's great. Just getting yourself hooked up. Yeah.
He's like, anytime you and Ruby need a ride, just let me know. And I'm like, well,
Wow.
I work 5 days a week, sir. So if you want
You
Yeah.
to
see
bring
it.
me
You
in,
see
then
how she's changing lives already. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And you
That's
were her
cool.
caregiver for 8 to 10 years, right?
10 years. I had her
10
for
years.
10
10 years.
years.
That's so
hmm
crazy.
Part of the family. That's beautiful.
Well, and that also, I mean, tending to that squirrel, obviously the way you did it from your experience now, as we've talked about before, I think, you've joined into these groups where they actually take calls in from people that have found
Yeah.
animals. And
Mhm.
just, it was weird, after we recently had talked before, there was a bird that was on the ground in right next to my house, and we took it
Ooh.
into our home. Like literally a couple
Mhm.
weeks after we had talked last time, we took the bird in because you had told me, like, if it'll go with you, you could keep it, but you just call the people and they'll come get it, and it'll go through a phone tree. And
hmm
just, and that's what you guys do. So I wanted that actually happened, by the way, but I wanted you to
Oh,
go into
good.
like because you have a spiel about it that comes from a place of understanding, and like this does happen to people. So if you find a wild animal, what do
Yes.
you do?
Yes.
Please tell us.
So my story is great and wonderful and beautiful, but like
Mhm.
honestly, like I lived for years in fear because what I did was actually illegal. In the
Right.
state of Louisiana, you are not allowed to possess or keep wildlife. Okay.
Right.
And Ruby, as a eastern gray squirrel, is considered wildlife.
Right.
So
So are
I
the most
tried to
people who
keep
work at
it.
Marie Laveau's, so it's fine.
Right. I mean, except for the people
Oh,
who remember those. I mean, we were like
Yeah,
family, and I think
yeah.
everybody knew that. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
I have this animal, but please don't like, say anything to anybody. I don't want to make it
Right.
big. I didn't post her on Facebook too much, things like that, because I was warned that,
right.
that Department of Natural Resources might come and take it,
And you
and
learned
that
because of
that
this though, and it,
totally.
it spurred a whole new move for you. So that's
Yes.
so
So
great.
what happened is I thought I was doing the right thing when I first got her, but actually you need to raise these squirrels with other squirrel babies so that they can learn how to be squirrels.
Right,
And Ruby's situation, since she just like crawled into my bag and went to sleep, that tells me that there was no safer place for her out there and that she literally
right,
lost her mother. She was
right,
orphaned, definitely.
right,
And I know
Mhm.
that now because I spent years, once I moved to South Carolina, I started wildlife rehabbing because the laws here are different and there are a bunch of groups that were easier to join. And so I
right,
started volunteering right away and started with squirrels, and I learned a lot. And I spoke with these mentors, and they trained me and they taught me a lot about squirrels. And I told them my story about Ruby. They said, yes, you did the right thing by taking her in, but you did the wrong thing by not giving her to a wildlife rehabber who could release her back into the wild.
right.
So I spent years of atonement for that because I felt like I needed to give back. So that's
Sure.
why, like, so I started wildlife rehabbing, and I started with squirrels, and I have
Right.
rescued and released so many squirrels since then. So if to get to round to your question, what
Yeah.
do we do when we find a squirrel? Well, you need to go to, every state's going to have some wildlife rescue group of some kind. So
Right.
you need to get them into the hands of an experienced rehabber ASAP.
Okay.
Do not feed them. Do not try to give them liquids. Do not try to do anything like that. Just literally get them in a safe spot. And if it's a small animal like a baby squirrel, a box with some air holes in it in a quiet room, cover it, leave them alone, and it's a secure box too. You don't want them to get out and run around your house. But
Right.
within a few hours, you should be able to do an online search and find someone to come and get it, or you can meet them to get them to them. Or if you're willing to even transport the animals straight to the rehabber, that will help them out too. So a lot of the times these people don't get paid for these jobs. They do them out of
Mhm.
the goodness of their own heart, and
Yeah.
they put their own time, energy, and money into it. So
Yeah.
anything you can do to help them, that would be great. Otherwise, yeah, definitely, get a hold of someone like that. Search wildlife rescue rehab in your area, and there should be a list
Right.
there that you could, and a hotline you call of some kind. Like I live in South Carolina, I work with Wildlife Rehab Group of South Carolina, and
Right.
we have rehabbers all over the state. So within a few hours, we should be able to have figured something out with getting the animal to a safer and secure place. Or sometimes, sometimes the baby squirrels can be reunited with the parents too. So
Right.
they might not need our intervention at all. So it's definitely important to call your rehabber. One good tip to have is take a picture of the animal. When you take a
Okay.
picture and send that to the rehab wildlife rescuer, they can tell a lot from a picture. They can tell how old the animal is, how sick they
Right.
are, how hurt they are,
Right.
things like that. So take a
Right.
picture, things like that. Send those things off, and then just be patient and do your best. So
Yeah, and I
That's
did want
actually
to touch on this too, Jack. You know, falconry and
oh,
the learning to train raptors or
yeah, that
red
is
tail hawks.
just yeah.
How do you
And it's
get how do
okay.
you get started with that?
Oh, Nikes. That's a totally different. Let's shift gears over. So
Okay.
I
yeah.
got,
Well,
no, it's okay. It's okay. Cause like there's wildlife rescue and then the falconry. So like
well, while we have
wildlife
you on the
rescue led
program,
me.
I know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
mentioned falconry, so I know that
Yeah.
there's going to be one or two people that are wondering how if I wanted to get started. I guess if we can keep it in a micro, like how would you even get started if you were going to pursue something like that?
Sure.
So how I got started was well, first, once I realized you could do this, I was like, holy shit, let
Right.
me get in
Yeah,
on
there's
that.
that. Yeah, you have to know you
How
can
do
do
I
it.
sink my teeth into this? And
Right.
my journey might not look the same as others, but
Mhm.
bullet points, you
Yeah,
need
like bullet
three
points.
things.
Yeah.
You need three things.
Mhm.
Uh, you need to take the exam. Every
Mhm.
state's going to have an exam for falconry. So
Right.
it's a written exam, multiple choice. I think it's like 50 questions or something like that. You got to study and pass that.
Right.
And then you also, in your studying and even like on your local DNR website, there should be like what's required. So the requirements is you need to
Mhm.
build your housing. You need to know what your bird needs,
Mhm.
so
Right.
you have to have the housing and the equipment. And that a federal agent will come and like I say agent,
There's
but
an
like a
inspector who will come and look at your.
yeah, like a natural resource
Are
officer will
you
come and
Mrs. Blue?
inspect it.
We're here to check on your housing. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they'll come
Yeah,
check it out. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I
cool.
welcome it. I welcome
Yeah.
it. Anytime they want to come by,
Yeah.
I welcome
Come
it.
check out my
Um,
Falcon house, bro.
Come
Yeah.
check it. Come check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So exam, and you need your housing and your equipment inspected. And then the
Mhm.
third part is probably the toughest part is finding a sponsor, a
Okay.
mentor. You need
Mhm.
someone who's been practicing falconry and held a permit for at least a couple of years. They have to be at least a general level falconer in order to sponsor you. And
My
they literally
question
sign
is,
off on your paperwork and train you for 2 years. It's a 2-year process of being an apprentice. So you need to find someone who's going to put up with your ass for 2 years.
So what
so a
exactly? I
fancy
mean,
cape and an ostrich plumed hat are not necessary for sure.
Wait,
that might
what?
be necessary for you, great sir,
That
but
would
not
be for me.
necessary for
I would
everybody
want like
else.
a cape, like an ostrich
Right.
plumed
I am
hat,
here
like
for falconry. Yeah.
yes, be
I
ready,
know, because it sounds so
be
ridiculous.
fully
Like you
like
go falcon, like they come
because
to
you
your
got to do
grand
one of those
estate.
like
We're gonna
throw
be
off your cape and
falconing
like
today, right? But
I
what do you
mean,
yes.
do when you falcon? Like, tell me, like, what is falconry and what are you actually doing with these birds? Like, what's happening? Tell me.
all
I
right.
guess someone would
So,
wonder that too, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I
I'm like,
guess
what
okay.
is falconry? You know,
So
I wouldn't because we
falconry.
talked about it, but I would. I'm sure
I
our
want to
audience
do
wants
it,
to know.
but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, you. All right, go ahead.
All right. Falconry is hunting with birds of prey.
Right.
Specifically like falcons and stuff. But
Mhm.
if you want to get down to brass tacks, I'm actually an ostringer, which I hunt with a hawk. But
Mhm.
we're not going to get too into splitting hairs here. Let's
Oh,
just call
right,
it
right.
falconry. So
Sure.
falconry is a general term that means hunting with birds of prey.
Gotcha.
So my
Mhm.
bird is a natural predator. He's a red-tailed hawk. He already has instincts, his hunting instincts, and I train him to stay with me, and I go with him on
Mhm.
hunts. And he does his bird thing, and I do my best to help him with the hunt, and we have a great time together. So
That's
we,
so crazy. So you take
mm-hmm,
a hawk out and it hunts, but it knows you're there and it comes back to you once it's done.
yes.
And you have that
Um,
relationship.
Not yeah, yes and no. But I won't go into details of that. But yes,
Mhm.
yes, basically yes, yes, yes.
That's so cool though.
He
I mean,
doesn't
I know
bring the
there's
food
more
back to
levels.
me. He doesn't bring the food back to me, but
No, but I'm
he
saying they
he
do come back to you.
yeah, absolutely yes. Oh
And
yes.
that's what I
Hmm.
mean. No, I'm not saying they bring you something like, hey, check out, I'm about to get down with. I'm saying they come back to you after they're done and the relationship is
But
there, that they know
Yes.
you're there to be there with them. And
it,
I just find that
Yes.
fascinating.
and do you have like the
That's so
awesome
cool.
glove too, like the big, like the super leather
The
glove and
gauntlet.
everything?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have a gauntlet.
It's
I have a
called a gauntlet.
gauntlet.
That stuff.
I have a
Gauntlet.
bag. I have a
And who
hunting
else had a
bag, a
gauntlet?
gauntlet. I even have a little
Yeah, I
orange
had a gauntlet.
hat, and
Yeah,
yeah, I wear a hunter's hat,
you do
and
have a
yeah.
hat. You do. She has a special hat. I knew it. I knew it.
That's
See,
so
I
you
have
want
an
to
cool.
act like
orange
I don't
hat.
know, Firewalker, but come on
I
now.
have a walking stick. I mean, I'm,
Right. You
Yeah,
going out there
see,
like, right. Yeah.
that's what's up,
Like queen of the
yeah.
animals and shit. Yeah. No, I like that. I mean,
dude. That's dope.
and I know that there's like a lot of people who would wonder like how do they know to come back? Like how do you train? How do they get used to you? Like what
Okay.
do you take them out and like I don't even understand. How do you get from like somebody who can't do that to somebody who can do that? That's all I'm saying. Because I can't do that.
Well, as long as you get your exam, let's assume you have your exam and you pass your inspection and you found a sponsor who will sign off on you.
Right.
Let's assume all that. Then you can do this. But once you have your bird, I mean, the training starts right away. As soon as
Right.
you trap your bird, some people will get imprint birds, but most of the times you'll trap a wild one. And so as
Okay.
soon as you trap that bird, it begins right away. They have to get used to you and associate food with you and things like that. So it just starts that. And most of the relationship is built around feeding and food. So
Right.
they get a reward from that. You know, it's a lot like
Right.
training dogs.
Right.
So in that regard, so
Yeah,
it
sure.
just starts right away. It's just, you know, you immerse them into, you know, being around you, and they get used to you, and over time they gain trust, but then they also begin to enjoy it because they get fed when they do the great things and things like that. So
Right. Sure.
So it
it
sounds like a
starts there.
symbiotic relationship is what it
And
sounds like.
repetition is
Mhm.
retention, you know. So the more you repeat yourself, and the more you the fine tune how you work with this bird, the more he can, you know, anticipate your next moves or actions, the better. So I
Right.
try to do everything consistently. Consistency pays off, and the
Right.
more he's able to know what I'm going to do next, the more trust is built and things like that. So yeah, so good husbandry is based around consistency, and yeah, pretty much.
Well,
So
I want
That's
to
cool
say
though.
that I would trust you with a squirrel to allow to visit with me, and I have many, many times. I would trust you
Indeed.
with the falcon, and I would trust you with an astrology reading or a tarot reading. So please look up Blu Tempest on our show notes, and you know
Indeed.
we would love to have you back on the show anytime because we
Hell
love you
yeah.
in general. Isn't that
Well, I
Yeah,
just
fantastic?
like
thank you.
talking to you. It's an excuse to talk
I
to you
know, I
and to have
know,
fun like this because we were on stage a lot at Marie's together, you know, doing our thing, kind of
I
rocking
know.
and rolling. And I just love the energy. So I appreciate you coming on, you know.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I
Yes.
did want to plug one more thing about my Reiki.
Mhm.
I was
Do it.
kind of
Yeah.
moving into
Yeah.
it. Was that because I started out with animals with Reiki, that now happens when I do a Reiki session, like no matter what. Like
Right.
you
Right.
will, if you get a Reiki session done by me, and I can do distance Reiki, if you get a Reiki session with me, you're going to get the Reiki, but I'm also going to read like what animal spirits are around you and what's happening in your aura. It's like they like will just dance around people's bodies in certain areas that I'm like scanning or sending Reiki to, and
Right.
I'll get messages through animals. So if you were
I
curious about
forgot
any of
that you do
that,
that. You're so good at that
yes.
too. You
That's what
like
I'm
will
talking
find
about. Yeah, I
someone's
remember
animal
that.
every time.
So I don't know what you would call it, because I always preface my clients before they get a Reiki session. I say, okay, this is Reiki, but I also have this thing that happens, and I
Right.
just can't, you know, I don't have to tell you about it at the end. It's just what I experience, what I see while I'm doing the Reiki is animal spirits will come up and they'll do stuff. They'll show me things and we'll
Right.
interact. I'll interact with these animals, and then they'll do the thing, they'll do the healing. So
Right.
you don't have to hear about it if you don't want to, because that's not specifically Reiki, because the Reiki is just what brings it out of me. So you get like an
Right.
animal shaman reading
Right.
along with your Reiki. So it just
Indeed. Yeah.
happens. It
And
Oh,
just
that's kind of
happens.
what I was talking about before because I've always found that fascinating that that happens with you. So I'm glad that you
Hmm.
shared that. And anybody
Yeah,
interested in anything like that or just understanding what that's about, for sure, connect with her.
yeah.
and
I'd
you're
love
gonna
to do
connect the
them.
dots
So
between your degree and your philanthropy and your totem animals and everything. I think it's going to be a great practice moving forward. So we're both very happy
thank
for you.
you.
You know, we
Thank
really
you.
are. So
Yeah, thank
anyone
you.
would be
Thank
lucky
you
to
very much.
spend some time with you and listen about what animal connections they have. So,
Dude,
I'm gonna
The
cry.
Jackie vibe is worth communing with in general because I mean I know what
mhm.
it's all about. I've been through it and
and
anybody who wants to talk to her about anything, please hit her up. Please.
unless you're trying to pick
Absolutely.
out lunch with her because that takes forever. So
Oh yeah, and
don't
if
do
you want
that.
her to come to
Don't do
work
that.
at exactly 11 o'clock, that also might
Don't
be an
look through
issue.
the menus with Jackie because they're
Right,
just
that also might be an issue. But yeah, other than that,
I
yes.
can never choose. I can never choose. Like,
oh my god.
okay, quartermaster, Birdie Mart. Like, let's go. I'm like, I don't know. Can
There-
we? Can we do 13, guys? I
This
can't. I
guy's easy.
can't.
He just eats French fries all day, so you're good. You're like get him
The
French
French
fries. He's
fries
good.
are a gift from the universe. Don't say anything bad about French fries. I'm probably gonna have some tonight, so shut your mouth.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate it.
And you know what? We love everyone for listening and being here, and we'll see you next time on
Yes.
Walking the Crossroads.
French fries.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, you weirdos.
Oh my God, that was so fun. What? I could have kept going too.